In this exercise, we will add our first label element. In the previous exercise, we created an input element, but we didn't include anything to explain what the input is used for. For a user to properly identify an input, we use the appropriately named label element. The label element has an opening and closing tag and displays text that is written between the opening and closing tags. To associate a label and an input, the input needs an ID attribute. We then assign the for attribute of the label element with the value of the ID attribute of input. Like in this example right here, you see inside of the form element. Now we have a label element with the for attribute set to mil, and then inside of the input element we now have the ID attribute set to the same exact value like the for attribute of this label element. In this case it is mil. The code above renders like so. You see, now we have the input box, and above that input box we have this text which is typed right here between the label opening and closing tags. Look, now users know what the input element is for. Another benefit for using the label element is when this element is clicked, the corresponding input is highlighted / selected. Okay, let's see the label element in action. We should add a label element that is associated with the included input element in index.html file right here. Use the for attribute. Okay, let's add a label element. Now we have the closing tag. Don't forget to add the closing label tag. Then add text username. Okay, let's copy the text and add this text between the label tags. And then after clearing this checkpoint, click on the username label in the web browser to see the corresponding input field selected. But don't forget to add the for attribute, and the for attribute should match the ID of the targeted input element. In this case, it is this input element, and it has the ID attribute set to username. So let's copy the value of this ID attribute and copy right here inside of this for attribute. And now let's click run. It is correct, of course. And now let's go there on our page and click on this text. This is the label element, and this is the content of the label element. In this case, it is the username text. And let's click on it, and we should automatically focus this input field. Let's click it, and you see, now our focus is on this input field and it is ready to type something. Okay, I hope you guys understand how the label element works now and how the for attribute and ID attribute are working together. Okay, let's proceed to the next exercise.